OriginClear is doing some innovative and perhaps transformational things with water. With me is Riggs Eckelberry, the CEO, and Ken Berenger, the Executive Vice President. Let's just start. We set it up with water. It was World Water Day recently, and you did something significant that day. So can you elaborate on that?
Yes. Well, the 22nd yesterday was a big day for the world in water. In fact, a lot of UN symposia happening this week as well. But we organized our own event working with New to the Street, where we brought not only Ken and myself, but also our brand ambassador, Estrella Nuri. We spoke to an audience about this amazing trend that's occurring here, which is, as we call it, radical decentralization. What does that mean? That means that we used to rely on the big central systems, but because there's been underinvestment, that's falling apart. And on top of it, we have a boom of deglobalization where companies are coming back to the US, Canada, and Mexico, and that's creating a need. Why? Because nobody's going to build giant water plants for these returning factories, which are going to be state-of-the-art, and there's going to be state-of-the-art water treatment systems integrated with.
Yeah. So basically what we're used to is like a municipal water, we get our water from, but your company decentralizes that. So businesses, even households, I guess, at some point, right, could have their own water supply. So explain how you do that. How do you provide that?
Okay. You mentioned households. The reason we don't drink our tap water is because 90% of water pollution is coming from the industry. It's an upstream issue. So the idea is, we talk about an economic boom. The truth is, there's 4 or 5 companies that could manufacture. You know, right now we have an existing deficit of $1 trillion in our water infrastructure. So if the government so chose to write a check for $1 trillion, which they can do, it would take 40 years to replace what's crumbling now. And then, of course, the existing infrastructure would be old. What we're doing is we're saying, look, this is being not polluted at the city. The city, you know, the infrastructure happens at the city, so it tries to make the water reasonably safe. Where is it being contaminated? It's upstream. It's at the commercial, agricultural, and industrial level. So the term that Riggs uses, which I really am starting to fall in love with, is co-locate, right? Literally treat the water where it's being made dirty, okay? And also, you're easing the burden of the business, right? But they are paying for it. So the idea is the net downstream effect is the folks that are drinking the water, the folks that really, you know, don't trust it, are paying less, potentially not even paying anything, right? And you're still providing this really great cost savings to a business that's going through a tremendous volume.
Yeah.
Water to the people.
Right, and the decaying current system that we have is leading to some of these problems, like we see in Flint, with the lead issues and things like that. So this would keep the water pure at its location, right? And that's what we
How do you have an overloaded system? You do one of 2 things. You can beef up the system, which is not possible, or you can unburden it. So we take the industrial and agriculture aspect away from it. Now it can serve the people, which are only 10% of the load. It can easily do that. Now, we recently announced that we're doing a crowdfunding for this business, Water on Demand. And, you know, right now, anyone can invest in this coming asset boom. You know, looking at assets right now that are in free fall. Banks are up, banks are down, oil's up, oil's down, no petroleum, whatever, right? This is a brand new asset that's coming into play that has not been manipulated, right? It's coming out of government monopoly. And we are there on one side with technology to downsize from the city into these businesses, number 1. And number 2, enable financing so that these, as Ken calls them, bulge businesses, the bulge bucket, yeah, the bulk of the businesses out there get it without having to pay up front. And the crowdfunding, I will give you the link even for people to go to, www.oc.gold/blue. People go to that, they can invest.
Well, I remember one thing that we talked about early on was that there's really hardly any place to invest money if you believe that water is a good investment. So, you know, everything's had in government control, and there's a few, you know, so this is one way people could take advantage of something if there's, you know, they truly believe that it's going to be a transformational change.
Well, Jane, I believed it in 2016, but I was a voice in the wilderness. Like, what? Decentralization? What are you talking about? Now it's real to people. You know, Ken and I were just talking about the danger of an electromagnetic pulse that would fry everything. And we're not ready. Very similar for water. Do you know that the system right now is super vulnerable to cyber attacks? Whereas if it's distributed, how are you going to attack all of those businesses? Not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so the way to handle water is to go small is beautiful, locate it, co-locate it at those locations, and they love it because they spend less money, they can recycle, and they control their fate.
Yeah.
Upstate New York, a couple of years ago when I still lived here in New York, I remember they arrested 2 men that were skulking around a reservoir. You know, they were suspicious folks and they arrested them. And when you think about it, a person with ill intent could contaminate an entire locality's water supply. So by removing the centrality of anything, you preserve it, okay? One of the major cases, we call it radical decentralization. Miniaturization allows for that. When's the last time that happened? Well, the miniaturization, the microprocessor was allowed for. He was a tech guy, right? They used to have the mainframe rooms, right? When we grew up in the 80s in school, you had to go in the mainframe room. But the shrinking down of the microprocessor allowed for the home PC. That created radical decentralization of computing, right? It created convenience. And if my machine breaks, I replace it, right? Used to be, if the mainframe broke, all computing was out of the game. So you can make a direct, straight line from that type of modality to what we're dealing with in water. Yeah. We took a high-tech and finance mindset, 2 guys who weren't in the water business, and we applied it to the most vital commodity.
That model and applied it. So walk me through the process. Like, say that I have a business.
Well, let's say you're a brewery, because I like to make beer.
Right.
Okay. But your business is making...
Or is it a winery?
Perhaps.
One of each.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Well, let's take a brewery because we do a lot of those. And you are, the city is saying you've got too much effluent, and I'm literally having to truck most of my stuff to another county. Big expense, very environmentally unsound, and so forth. Okay. So I come to Water on Demand, and I say, can you help me? Or we come to you, we can help you. And you sign a service contract. At that point, we deliver a machine to your location. It could be in the corner of 300 square foot.
And how big is the machine?
Literally 300 square feet.
Okay.
Nothing. And we just put it there in the corner of the brewery. Our tech will maintain it. You just get your dirty water processed, pay by the gallon, and it's a good deal for you. Why? Because inflation right now, water rates is rampant. It's taking off. It's like 4 times normal inflation.
Yeah.
But with these service contracts, it's limited. It's boxed in. Businesses don't mind things getting more expensive as long as they can plan for it.
Right.
So, and on top of it, they have the ability to recycle, which the system doesn't do right now. So there's no recycling in the system. Why? It was built 100 years ago. Right. And we were thinking about that. Today, we need to.
There are rural locations that are operating businesses that literally have to take millions of gallons of contaminated water. Now, the contaminant can be yeast it could be something benign, or it could be something really, really toxic. And they're spending millions of dollars a year carting it from some, remote location, country type of location, to a place where it can be disposed of responsibly. Okay. What does that central location do? They remove the water, they remove the contaminant, and the water can just be flushed into the local water supply, local sewer, safely. But he's spending millions of dollars because water is very heavy and is very cheap. It costs a fortune to truck it away.
To move it, yeah. Being
Being able to take a co-located system, large enough to handle whatever throughput they have, even if that system's $1 million, the savings to that industrial location is absolutely phenomenal.
Interesting.
And multiple uses on the water, right? If every location just uses the water one more time, the water savings is almost incalculable.
So how can a business find out more about this program you have?
That was very simple. So they simply go to waterondemand.net, and there's a way to let us know.
Just find out more. Okay, yeah.
And sure enough, you'll get one of our techs will scope out the project, give you a bid, and at that point, now, yes, you're free to purchase it, and our existing business has been people purchasing it. This service thing is new.
Okay.
But
this purchasing the box.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can buy it, but then you have to maintain it and this and that, right?
Got it.
Here, it's a service. Just forget about it. just like those chillers that are in the brewery that technician shows up and you didn't even know the chiller was down, but the internet told him. So that's how it's fully managed. It's a managed service, and they'll be able to take advantage of it. Now we have a huge backlog. We have lots and lots and lots of candidates. So we're happy to help. We also have lots of business already because this is a very popular idea. Saving capital. Many businesses don't have it in their capital plan to spend $500,000 on water.
Well, it just makes sense to have more control over that rather than relying on.
And I think that's the key to a small to mid-sized business owner, right? The having one more thing that they can actually control the outcome on. Because 90% of small businesses, it's really just solving the problem that occurs that day, right? So this is one less problem they'll ever have to think about. And I think that's, it makes economic sense. And of course, it's a sanity quotient.
All right.
The last big thing I want to mention is there's tremendous environmental sustainability aspects to treating the water right there. We've done the studies, tremendous gains in greenhouse gases and so forth because you're not having to send it far long distances. And so it's actually part of a cleaner world.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Ken and Riggs.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.